Thank you for having me. Good morning, Pinky.
ABS-CBN did not deserve the death penalty, you said. This is, of course, in reaction to the cease and desist order issued by the National Telecommunications Commission. But Solicitor General Jose Calida is saying, don't blame the NTC, blame the House of Representatives. Do you agree, sir?
There's logic to that statement, but having said that, there was a formal notice given by the House and the Senate to NTC, which was agreed upon together with the Department of Justice and the NTC itself during formal committee hearings that they would provide a provisional authority to ABS-CBN to operate until Congress decides on the matter.
That's correct, sir. I'm just going to add to what Solicitor General Jose Calida was saying. He said that the bill in renewing ABS-CBN franchise has actually been pending in Congress since 2016. And he says the question is, we should be asking, why hasn't Congress acted on it? Who is at fault here? There is no law giving the NTC the power to grant a franchise.
I'll put it this way. The Senate is prepared to pass the franchise bill of ABS-CBN. I was quoted before as saying that about 17 or 18, maybe even more, senators are on board to pass the franchise of ABS-CBN.
And that is right, sir. Even the Senate President a couple of days ago said, just bring it to the Senate and we'll approve it right away. But of course, you need to follow the procedure. Basically, it has to pass through the House of Representatives first before it goes to the Senate.
That is correct. So we're just waiting for the House to pass it.
Sir, the Senate, rather the National Telecommunications Commission, I know you said should have followed the advice. Again, Secretary Menardo Guevara is not calling this a legal opinion, the advice of the DOJ and, of course, the resolution from both houses of Congress. But if they did, sir, again, let me add this, a statement made by the Solgen that they could be charged for graft if they issued a provisional authority, and hence probably the change of mind, probably, sir, of the National Telecommunications Commission. Do you think that it was right, it was fair, or prudent for the Solgen to issue such a statement?
I disagree with the Solgen. In fact, the Solgen did file in the Supreme Court, if I'm not mistaken, a few months back, a quo warranto proceeding against ABS-CBN. And the Supreme Court has not acted on it. Again, let me point out, we did have formal hearings with the NTC, the DOJ. The Solicitor General was also invited. And the DOJ said that there was nothing illegal for the NTC to give a provisional authority on the principle of equity because it has been done in the past.
Senator, palagay niyo ba na pressure ang NTC because of the statement made by the Solgen?
We all know the reason why ABS-CBN's franchise also has not been extended. It is also political. Even in the hearings, in the formal hearings, lumabas din na may galit ang presidente, and that's why the ABS-CBN officers even apologized publicly, which was accepted by the president. They have not violated any law. That also came out in the hearings.
And in fact, sir, you were saying that indeed if they violated any law, they should just be fined.
Correct.
In the event they did.
Correct to impose a death penalty on ABS-CBN, especially today that we are in the season of death, literally speaking. And it divides our attention, our energy, our attention in fighting COVID-19.
The NTC obviously said one thing and did another thing. Congressman Abante, sir, was saying yesterday that Congress should abolish the NTC, but another Congressman, Boying Remulla, struck this out of the records because it was clear accordingly that this was not supposed to be discussed during plenary. Do you think that the NTC should be abolished, sir?
No, I don't think so. But I'm sure they will have to explain to the Senate during the budget deliberations.
There's still no word so far, Senator Ralph, on how the House will go about this. Still no word from the leadership kung magkakaroon po ng hearing sa Monday. Senator, what does this tell you about what could possibly happen at the House of Representatives?
It's hard for me to speculate, but I would assume that there will be pressure for the House to continue with hearings and hopefully to pass the franchise of ABS-CBN before we go on break on June so that we can tackle it in the Senate immediately. We're hoping that the House will pass the franchise immediately. Surely the Senate would pass it as well before we go on break on June.
Congressman Rufus Rodriguez filed a bill yesterday, first a bill for a new franchise renewal for 25 years, sir. And there's another one. It's a joint resolution for a provisional franchise until 2022. Would this be a good idea, sir? And would this be a faster way to jumpstart the possible going on air again of ABS-CBN, sir?
If we want ABS-CBN to go on air immediately, all they have to do is for NTC to issue a provisional authority, or for Malacanang, for that matter, the president. Tell the NTC to issue a provisional authority. Failing that, then Congress must pass the extended franchise, and that will solve the issue once and for all. Now, those bills have been filed. The original is 25 years. The extension until 2022 was a compromise, and I think that was filed in March, just to ensure that ABS could operate until 2022. So if we're going to pass anything, might as well pass the extension already for 25 years. That's what I'm saying. saying?
Diretso na po dun sa renewal of 25 years.
Correct. Can you imagine? Potentially, we could have 30 million people, Filipinos, out of work. Why are we adding 11,000 or more people out of work? Our revenues, the national government's collection of taxes is way, way down. Our deficit will probably hit 1 trillion pesos this year. ABS on the average pays at least 5 billion pesos a year. People are on lockdown and they get information from ABS and entertainment from ABS among the other channels as well, right? So how will this help in fighting our common enemy? How will closing ABS-CBN down help in fighting COVID-19? When all our efforts and energy should be focused on fighting a common enemy. And I don't think ABS-CBN is a common enemy here, right?
And as you mentioned, sir, 11,000 employees stand to lose their jobs. What can government do? How can they assist them, sir? Doon pa lang po sa Special Amelioration Program, nagkakaproblema po in terms of distribution. Very recently, of course, the help or assistance for the MSMEs amounting to about, I think it's about 50 billion pesos, sir, is also under works, no? But here you have another 11,000 that government possibly needs to think about.
Not only the 11,000 direct employees, but plus the indirect employees that will lose their jobs. So there is a multiplier effect. Not to mention, they also have debts with banks. Manganganak yung problemang yan, so to speak. Lalaki rin yung gastos ng gobyerno because there will be unemployment insurance. Some of them would be eligible for unemployment insurance with SSS. That is under the new charter of the SSS as well. I don't think this definitely will help in our common effort to defeat the enemy. I would say that we are essentially at war with a common enemy. So all hands on deck, ABS-CBN, how will it help that you close down ABS-CBN? Makakatulong ba yan in fighting the common enemy? Palagay ko, hindi.
Senator, do you think uumpisahan na ho kaya ito? Do you think uumpisahan na ito ng House of Representatives next week?
I think so. Here we are, we will be probably speaking about a supplemental budget, a stimulus plan, and there is an opportunity here to ensure that 11,000 jobs are saved and possibly more, as I said earlier. So let's just end the franchise of ABS-CBN.
Are you satisfied with how government has responded in handling the COVID-19 pandemic, sir?
Let me begin by saying walang magaling dito, and all governments around the world have their problems in addressing this issue, and that's why I'm saying all hands on deck. It is not only a whole of government approach but a whole of society approach. You need both the public and the private sector to address this crisis. Kailangan magtulungan na lahat dito. Not to mention, there are more private hospitals than public hospitals to begin with. Having said that, am I satisfied with the response? Just like many others would say, not totally. And that's why we filed this resolution, or we adopted my motion the other day in the Senate during our hearings to have an update from the IITF or from government itself, the executive branch, on what have we done and what do we plan to do moving forward. What is our national strategy moving forward? What protocols will we have with regard to opening up the economy? What will be the role of the private sector in testing their employees, among others, for example? How much resources will be needed to defeat this common enemy? What resources do we have today? So on and so forth. So there are many things that we need to know so that we can address the problem. And the first step is to have a briefing with the executive on our national strategy.
Who will be invited on Monday, sir?
On Monday, we expect the economic managers and members of the IATF to brief the Senate and the people on what we have done and what we intend to do moving forward.
What should be the priority, sir, you feel, of government moving forward? Where we are now, of course, they want to ramp up testing. I believe that they are hoping by the end of May, we will reach, I think, 30,000 tests a day, sir. We're far behind that particular number of tests. But what do you think is the priority?
Well, health. Essentially, this is a health problem, which has become an economic problem and possibly a social problem later on. So we have to address the health issue first. And that is to ensure that we're able to test, isolate, to ensure that the virus will not infect too many other people, and to treat patients later on. So we have to make sure that our health institution or facilities are in place. We have to make the investments, the necessary investments on the health side. Second is you will have to continue with providing financial assistance to families to cope up with this crisis, especially if this crisis will last, 18 to 24 more months, possibly 2 years. No? Maraming mawawalan ng trabaho. Of course, we need to provide certain assistance like interest-free loans to businesses. So in a nutshell, to simplify, address the health concerns, provide financial assistance to families so they can get by, provide wage subsidies, that's part of assistance to families, and interest-free loans loans to businesses, particularly MSMEs.
Yes, sir. Especially MSMEs, the driving force of the economy. They are experiencing a lot of problems and challenges, sir. So moving forward, sir, of course, there has to be a balance, as you mentioned, between the health and the economy. But, malapit na po kasi yung May 15 and NCR together with other high-risk areas are still on an ECQ, sir. Do you have any idea or do you have any suggestion right now kung dapat i-extend pa ho kaya tong ECQ o pwede na ho yung some parts na nag-ECQ ay pwede na pong maging general community quarantine?
That's precisely why we want to have a hearing, to find out where are we, can we open up the economy in certain areas? What are the protocols in place? Pababa na ba yung infection? Have we tested enough already to make those determinations? So siguro yan tatanungin natin next week during the hearings itself.
And you have, I'm sure, a better assessment, sir, after the hearings of the Committee of the Whole. Senator Ralph Recto, sir, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Thank you very much, Ping.